Dünyanın en eski tarihine sahip coğrafyalarından biri. Dünün izleri bugünü yaratırken adanın ihtişamını oluşturan her detay masal bir ülkeyi var ediyor. Gizem, görkem, tarih ve medeniyet, Akdeniz'in yumuşaklığı ve sıcak insanları, denizin ve gökyüzünün birleştiği bu yerde Malta'nın benliğini oluşturuyor. Sarı sıcak her sokağın sonu denize ulaşıyor burada ve Malta kadim bir dost gibi dünyayı kucaklamaya hazır.
Is that sick little heart in hope sewa lil jaratana lomtal poesia lil sinta hali donimli bilalewa lil jensahili ize alenia. In hope is yet lil'ohra illuta ġewwa li għandha fema daslat sa qawwija li taf tirba u taħfel lil-ġewwa sultana ta' qalb kbira u maqlija. Is that sick little heart oh Malta diğer.
Our capital city is Valletta. It was built after the Great Siege of 1565. And the knights had to make very important decisions quite quickly because they thought that the Ottomans would be back. So they decided to build a city on this peninsula, but a medium-sized city. They could have built a much larger city, but at first they decided to build a medium-sized city. The city is built with the stone, which is the Globigerina limestone. We have been using it since prehistoric times. All our temples are built with this soft type of stone. In Malta there are 5 layers of stone, and this is the most important one. The houses are so beautiful because of this particular honey color. With the sun it gets a honey color, in fact. When it's cut it's rather white, but then it changes its color. The 3 cities behind me, for example, with Fort St. Angelo at its guard, and then Vittoriosa, Cospicua and Senglea, the 3 cities surrounded by the Cottonera lines. That is where the knights settled when they first came here in 1530. But after the Great Siege of 1565, and this year we are commemorating the 450th anniversary of the Great Siege, Grand Master Jean de Valletta, who was a French, decided to build the city of Valletta. When the city was built, then the knights decided to remain in Malta. And this had a very long-lasting effect on our history, on our culture. The knights, as I said, were here for a long time, and this meant that Malta was some sort of Europe before Europe. They were French knights, Italian knights, Spanish knights, Portuguese knights, English knights, German knights. They all came here, they all contributed to this small island in the central of the Mediterranean. First, they built the fortifications, the walls around the cities, then the street plan. The street plan is the gridiron plan, straight parallel streets, going from one end to the other, from City Gate to Fort St. Elmo, and then from one harbour, from Grand Harbour, to Marsamxett Harbour. The knights built their auberges. That's where they lived. Every lang, and there were 8 langs in all, had its own auberge, and next to the auberge a chapel or a church, and then they built the main church in the center of the city. I'm referring to St. John's Church. St. John's Co-Cathedral is really the main church in Malta, even though the cathedral is in Medina, which is dedicated to St. Paul, our patron saint. Saint John the Baptist is the patron saint of the night, so it was dedicated to him. And inside this church, which is very Baroque, originally it was very simple. It was only at a later stage that it was decorated with heavy Baroque, the heavy Baroque style. There are so many things one can visit in this city. It's a museum city, you can say, which is alive. There are like houses which are open to the public, like the Casa Rocca Piccola, which is a typical house within Valletta, very elaborate as well, a beautiful house, and it's always interesting to visit, besides the museums and the palaces, also a normal house within the city.
This house perhaps is interesting to visitors because it has become a bit of a relic. All the other houses like us now in Valletta are banks and offices and shops, and this house still has the family living in it. It is 400 years old, and for 200 years after the Knights of Malta, Maltese families have lived in this house. The collection here is quite interesting. You will see things from the 1500s and the 1600s and the 1700s. In the 1700s, we have a whole lot of portraits of ancestors, father to son, and it comes right the way through to our generation. And I think the people who come here, they come from Australia and Canada and all over Europe. I think they quite enjoy seeing a house that is lived in and not just a museum. We are not a museum. My children have counted the rooms, and I think they counted about 50, but the main rooms are about 12 rooms on this floor. The piano nobile, they call it, the grander rooms. We are on a hill, so there are areas where there are extra rooms because of the hill halfway through, and we have little bedrooms and things like that if people come to stay with us. There is also, quite interesting in this house, an air raid shelter. And during the war, during the bombings, around the house, if what people like to see, our Maltese were very good at being craftsmen. We were 8 languages of the Knights of Malta, and that gave the opportunity to the local population to compare notes. If you were making lace, you could see what they were doing in France, in Belgium, in Holland, in wherever, all these places, Italy, Portugal, and our quality of work became very high and set a kind of standard of high quality. So the things here are not because we are a tiny little island in the Mediterranean. There was a lot of the international feel of what should be good quality. Handing this house down is a problem. As we are the last, this must not be broken up.
We are here at the Upper Baraka Gardens. This was originally the responsibility of the Italian Knights to take care of these fortifications here, this part of the fortifications in Valletta. And beneath us is Fort Lascaris. That is where the war rooms are situated, and also the saluting battery. Malta suffered a lot during the Second World War. Malta was in fact bombarded the day after Italy declared war against England and France on the 10th of June 1940. So the war lasted from June 1940 to 1943. That is when the Italian Navy surrendered in our harbor here in Valletta. People here suffered a lot. Malta was bombarded day and night, mainly because Sicily is so close. It is only 20 minutes, 30 minutes flying time from Sicily. Convoys reached Malta, and this saved Malta. One can imagine being here at the Upper Baraka Gardens, noticing these convoys coming into our harbour, with people around the fortifications, especially in April 1942, when the convoy of Santa Maria actually saved these islands.